good, everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here yet once again, alongside my tag team partner Dale Clifford out there in Fernley, Nevada, and welcome to another edition of the No Gimmicks podcast. Dale, what's good, my man?
What up, Todd? So, it's nice to finally join you for a NXT Good, Bad, Ugly. We haven't done this one. Maybe once, if at all. So this will be a nice little treat to be able to give a review here for a NXT Takeover Orlando.
Yes, sir.
We'll go ahead and we'll start with Bobby Roode versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Heavyweight Championship.
The good, the bad, and the ugly of NXT Takeover Orlando, folks. So we're going to start here with the title match. So first, the good. Obviously, I think this was a stronger effort than their first match. Also, I absolutely love the finish. The tornado variation of Roode's glorious DDT. I think that was a nice touch. Dale, what do you guys say about that?
Absolutely, I agree. The first match between these two, I thought that might have been in the plan, but it seemed like the beginning in the first match between these two was very slow, with Roode taking all
slow as molasses.
With Roode doing all the powdering out of the ring. And this one
learned from the mistake, obviously.
And this one obviously got going right from the beginning, and we didn't have the delay between with Nakamura dealing with the knee injury either, which I thought slowed it down. Yeah. But obviously that built to the finish in the first one, and then in this one we just had Roode work over the knee a few times with some cheap chops.
Yeah, definitely some nice psychology. Using this one, and as we know, Roode wound up being victorious, and he retained the NXT World Heavyweight title. So we're going to go ahead and make our transition to the bad here. The bad being the Nakamura loss. This is the second loss that he suffers to Bobby Roode, and we got to ask, what's next? What do you think is next on the horizon for Shinsuke Nakamura, Dale?
I think that there is no more horizon in NXT. I think this is it. I don't know if we see him at WrestleMania, but...
Not sure about that exactly.
If I will almost guarantee Monday night or Tuesday night we will see Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm gonna put my money on him going to Monday Night Raw as opposed to Tuesday Night SmackDown. Yeah,
they could definitely use his star power over there on the Red brand. And speaking of Red, let's get to the ugly of this match. You know, sometimes we just have to get a little nitpicky here, and we just have to come down to what the guys were wearing. I don't know if you remember that game Candyland, Dale. From when you were a little kid. You remember the dude named Lord Licorice? Gotcha. They had the guy who's like the evil villain, Lord Licorice. That's what Nakamura remind me of tonight. With those red, almost zebra stripe looking pants. I don't know where he pulled those from. I had never seen him rock those while he was in New Japan, while he was over in Ring of Honor. And yes, I actually meant to say Ring of Honor. I'm not getting my Nigel McGuinness on here, folks. I don't know where he got those from, but yeah, that was about the only thing ugly that really kind of stood out to me in that match here. So now it's funny because there was some new talent in attendance in the audience at NXT Takeover Orlando, wasn't there tonight, Dale?
Yeah, that was because we were bringing this up as what's the future hold for a Nakamura, and I think in NXT, I think it is over because we have a good slew of a talent coming in, and we definitely saw a fairly surprising return to the WWE in that of Drew McIntyre.
That surprised the hell out of me because, as we know, this was going back probably like to last year. Both Drew McIntyre and EC3 had some very unpleasant comments which they made about both the WWE and about Triple H himself. And lo and behold, where does he wind up? And of all places, front row at NXT, which is ran by Triple H. So we were led to believe that this was all legit, but hey, maybe it was all just a work. Either that, or maybe they just were able to smooth things over. You know.
It was at an Evolve show, which has a very close relationship right now with WWE. So very interesting there.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I actually think that this could be a smarter move for Drew, too, also, to come back into WWE and into NXT, where he's not going to get given some stupid three-man band gimmick again.
Yeah. The only funny thing about it is because both Heat and Jinder Mahal are both there on the WWE roster, but the safe thing for him, like you said, is he's away from both of them with being in NXT, you know. So, yeah, hopefully they don't have him walk down that road again, because that guy, he is talented. You know, he's got the size, he's got the look. At one point in time, you know, he was referred to as the chosen one, and it's supposed to be, you know, one of the top superstars, young up-and-coming superstars in WWE. So, not exactly sure what happened with him, but he definitely made, you know, some big strides over there in Impact, and maybe they were able to notice that. Moving on here, we had Asuka, the NXT Women's Champion, taking on a big challenger in Ember Moon. So I think the good in this one was, unlike the women's titles on the, you know, SmackDown and Raw brand, Asuka remains as probably the strongest female champion in the whole entire WWE. This belt isn't playing hot potato. It's staying right there with her. Ain't that right, Dale?
Yeah, I definitely see that as a good thing, but I also noticed that I've kind of thought that this was going to be the end point for Asuka. And just thinking that, because obviously when you get the NXT pay-per-views right before a WrestleMania and then the post-WrestleMania call-ups, you kind of got to start thinking how NXT is going to react to things. And you thought that maybe if Asuka dropped the championship here, that meant she was going to be coming up. So I was slightly surprised that she retained here. I thought that Ember had built herself up to be a worthy possible champion and taking the division forward. But obviously she didn't win, so Asuka's still the champion, and that's the thing. Like, she hasn't lost. And now you continue to look at the NXT women's division, and you're like, who is going to knock down Asuka?
I have no clue. I'm really not sure who's going to knock her off as the top, you know, competitor for the women's division in NXT. It's only a matter of time, I guess, you know, before somebody steps up to the plate. The bad in this one, I want to say, is the fact that although Asuka is supposed to be portrayed as a face, I've been noticing more and more lately that she's been displaying a lot of heelish tactics. Dale, what do you think is up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We were trying to, I know that we go back and forth with my wife on this one when we were thinking that she was going to lose and how she would come up onto the main roster as a good or bad. And my wife's like, she's been using a lot of heelish tactics lately, and obviously she gets cheered because of the reputation that she's had. But as you saw tonight, the cheap shot of knocking out the top rope and having Ember come crashing down to finish off that match, definitely a more towards the heelish tactic there to get the win. And so now you're like, I think she's kind of one of the tweeners. Really, she's a tweener character.
Yeah, and this is the second time she's denied one of her competitors of a handshake as well, too, as a sign of respect. So, yeah, it should be interesting to see where they go with that. For the ugly in this one, you were the one who kind of pointed this out, that Ember was not quite looking like herself tonight.
Yeah,
you had said she looked more like Ember Lunar rather than Ember Moon. What was your thoughts on that, Dale?
Yeah, I pointed out, I was like, she's not exactly Ember tonight. And my wife's like, I guess you can call her Lunar.
Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely a little bit of an altered look going on there for Ember tonight. And yeah, she was not exactly all herself, because she was, I think she would have walked away victorious as the new NXT Women's Champion. But moving on here, this, in my opinion, I think was the strongest offering of the NXT TakeOver Orlando card. We had the champions, the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Authors of Pain, taking on DIY and the Revival. So, yeah, I think that was by far the strongest offering. And I think the good point here is that AOP, they retained their belts. You know, I think a strong, very, how can I say it, fierce and, dominating tag team like them, they need to hold the straps for a while. You agree with me on that, Dale?
Again, yeah, we just look at kind of some of the things that go on with the main roster about titles going back and forth, and we kind of get frustrated with it. And then you kind of look at NXT, and for the most part, the Women's Championship hasn't gone anywhere in a very long time. And
yeah,
the Tag Team Championships, you get a good, decent run out of someone. But I think right now, it's about time that I think a team makes that run to try to topple the longest reigning NXT championships, and I think that's where AOP is headed. Because again, they're a tag team that's undefeated; they haven't lost. And you kind of look at the landscape of the tag team division, and you're like, who's going to beat them?
The only tag team which I can think of, and you might laugh when I say this, but if you're just talking about sheer size alone, I know these guys are just kind of getting started, but those two guys, what do they call Heavy Machinery? I call them the 2017 version of Natural Disasters, just because they're two bigger guys and they're pretty intense and whatnot. You know, because I would say the Ely Bros, but those guys have just been absolutely wasted. Now, it's funny, though, when you saw the Elys in the ring with the Authors of Pain, who were the bigger guys? The Elys were. From a physical standpoint, they are taller than the Authors of Pain and maybe even slightly, I don't know, maybe around the same size. But those guys have just been getting squashed left and right, so nobody will believe that. But yeah, I'm thinking that's the only tag team I can see unless they bring anybody else new in. There's just not too many tag teams that share the same sheer size as a tag team like the Authors of Pain. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that one. And speaking of the sheer size and pure intimidation of those guys, man, let's move on to the ugly. Johnny Gargano was used as a human projectile by the Authors of Pain. I remember at one point during the match when they were outside the ring, they picked him up and they literally launched him into his own tag team partner, and then I think he was launched into the members of the Revival. Dale, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. That was quite ugly. I'll just spin you real quick because you skipped a section. So the bad was you didn't like how DIY ended up getting eliminated from the match.
No, I did not. Thank you for keeping me honest here. Yeah, that was something I wasn't a very big fan of. I can honestly say, like I said, I'm kind of in favor of AOP retaining the titles, but I did not like the way that DIY was eliminated and how they were eliminated at first. I kind of wanted to see them last a little bit longer in the match.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the tough thing like on that one is that you got 3 tag teams. And I definitely, so as we look at that one, you're trying to go forward, which one between DIY and the Revival, or both maybe, leave the NXT realm and go up to the main roster? But
I don't know.
If they both leave, it really hurts the NXT tag team division. But again, not everybody's not supposed to be down there forever. But you're like TM61 is only one guy right now because the other got injured.
Yeah.
And you got Heavy Machinery, but they haven't really done much. You got the Ely brothers, but
those guys are underdeveloped.
You got the Ely brothers, but they just keep coming out and getting squashed. I don't even think they've actually had a match yet. So there really isn't a tag team division going right now. So you can't lose both the DIY and the Revival. I really feel like it is going to be the Revival that's going to leave.
Yeah, I was going to say if I had to choose, I would probably send them up first. And I don't know. I think the main roster might possibly respond better to those guys than to DIY. I think DIY kind of has a whole indie darling tag team feel to them, and they might get a better response out of the crowd down there at Full Sail. That's just my take.
Yeah, definitely. And onto that ugly. I definitely that was quite a interesting little exchange there where they threw Gargano back into the diving Tommaso Ciampa as he was coming out of the ring, and then turned around and threw him into the Revival to knock those two guys down.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those aspects where obviously you see the size difference between DIY and the Authors of Pain as to why really DIY. I just don't think you can have them topple AOP.
No.
But that's why I thought maybe with the help of the Revival, one of those two would be able to take them out tonight, but that wasn't the case. AOP survived, and they're still your NXT Tag Team Champions.
Yes, indeed they are. So moving on here to our next match from our NXT Takeover Orlando card, we had the debuting, formerly known as Tommy End, now being referred to as Alistair Black in NXT, who took on Andrade Cien Almas. So the good for this one was 2 things. A, an impressive debut for Alistair Black. And my God, was that a cool entrance or what? It looked like he literally rose up from the smoke and from out the grave, man. That was pretty cool. I'm not sure how they had that rigged up there for him. I don't know. You have any thoughts on that, Dale?
No, I thought that was interesting. I was trying to figure out if I was looking at it the right way, or it was just the camera angle.
Yeah.
So definitely very unique and a change of entrance that we got going on. Nice, impressive way for him to start in NXT for sure.
This guy, he reminds me of a couple people. When I see him, I think of a little bit of CM Punk. I also see a little bit of Finn Balor mixed in there as well. Because he's got the whole demonic thing going on. Then he's a striker. He's covered in tattoos. And I had even mentioned this to you before the show, jokingly, that there was one point in time during the match where he had Cien Almas up on his shoulders, and I swore I almost thought he was about to deliver to go to sleep. And I had said to you jokingly, I said, well, shoot, they might as well go ahead and let him use it because Hideo Itami's never around to use it since he's always hurt. Which leads us to our next point here, the bad. I love the name because it's fitting to his character, the Black Mass. But I don't exactly like the spinning heel kick as a finisher. Your thoughts on that, Dale?
I could see where you're going with this. I love the move, but I'm not. I don't know. It's like when it comes to kicks, sometimes I feel like, especially nowadays wrestling, the kick is just kind of should be a setup to another move.
Yeah.
Because it was like,
yeah.
I'll keep it quick. As we've spoken many a times, Shawn Michaels had Sweet Chin music, but the Young Bucks have changed the usage of the super kick now.
Yes, they have.
So that's just the thing. It's like kicks just to me seem to be very not finish or worthy right now. And we pointed is like another guy's like we pointed to. Sami Zayn has the Helluva kick. It's like I would rather him use that to set up the Blue Thunder Bomb instead of the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah, and the one thing I've noticed with guys recently, we had this discussion as well. They're bringing them in the NXT and they have temporary finishers. We saw this with Cien Almas, where he was using the double knees to the corner, and then it, kind of evolved into him using the hammerlock DDT. When Roode first came in, he was using almost like a pump handle slam, and then eventually he started using the glorious DDT. So I'm hoping that this move stays in his arsenal, and it remains as a specialty move and possibly as a setup to something bigger. And like I said, I think it would be cool. Like I said, with him kind of remind me of Punk a little bit if he eventually started using it to go to sleep. But hey, a man can dream, right? Pun intended. So, moving on here to the ugly. So, kind of had to nitpick this one. I'm not sure what that is on Alistair Black's back. They're kind of going with the whole thing and saying that, like, he doesn't have several tattoos. It's just one big tattoo that slowly but surely is kind of making progress here. And it almost looks like a demonic version of the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. Did you get a good look at that, Dale? Did you notice that at all?
I definitely could see kind of where you're going with that. I was like, I think it is kind of a spin-off of one of those Japanese style women tattoos that you can see, art figures that you see, with obviously a more scary
a geisha, basically.
Like all of that, yeah.
Okay, kind of like a demonic geisha with the horns and all that stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, definitely a bright future for a guy who was so dark in NXT, I think. I think this guy is going to go a long way. Moving on here to the first match of NXT TakeOver Orlando, we had Ty Dillinger, Ruby Riot. We'll get to her more here in a couple of seconds. Roger Strong and what was originally supposed to have been No Way Jose, who got jumped pre-match by Sanity, and he wound up getting replaced by Cassius Ohno, which I think was a good move for them to do this. So we had those four taking on Sanity, which is comprised of Alexander Wolf, Nikki Cross, Eric Young, and Killian Dane. So, yeah, Ohno getting his first pay-per-view appearance since re-debuting with NXT. I felt that was the good. Dale, you agree with me on that?
Yeah, it was fortunate to lose No Way Jose, but I definitely am a bigger fan of Cassius Ohno, formerly Chris Hero. So like to see that he got into the NXT pay-per-view fold, and obviously being a Warriors fan, the long history, I don't sporting the King stuff is going to kind of sour some Warriors fans that enjoy his Warriors gimmick look.
Yeah, come on. Come on, no. If you're going to rep a Cali team, man, from the NBA, at least rep the right team.
But yeah, definitely,
Warriors.
It definitely seems like when he goes to the NBA inspired looks, he represents all of California, which is quite interesting, which again is going to play good to some of his fans and bad to the others when he's not supporting the team that they think he should be choosing. But anyway, yeah, definitely good that he got to take part in this. I was wondering where he was going to fit into this whole thing. And really kind of the way that this thing unfolded, speaking in kind of
which was a
terms
bit of a cluster.
Yeah, this match, it was all over the place. It just broke down from the beginning and really didn't seem like it had too much where it was settled into an actual like tag match. But as we spoke about the future of Nakamura, again, we got to go back to that point of what is the future of Ty Dillinger here? I think his time in NXT has to be over because he now has unsuccessfully tried again to take down Sanity. I don't know if you're going to spin him into another feud. I guess that works, but I just think at this point it's time to see what he can do at the main roster level now.
I agree with you there. I'm going to go ahead and say I think out of these 8 folks who were involved in this match here, the one who I think is going to be one of the bigger breakout stars in NXT is going to be Roderick Strong.
Yep.
And if you hear the reaction that he got from the crowd tonight, yeah, he's beginning to get over. I think part of that, too, is because I believe he's originally from Florida and they were out there in Florida. But, yeah, I think he's going to emerge as one of the potential superstars for NXT out of that group. So let's get to the bad here. They had Ruby Riot, who I believe this was actually her official debut in NXT. And I just so happen to know she had kind of a punk rocker gimmick going on. And when she came out to the ring, her entrance music had a very familiar theme to it, Dale. Oi, oi, oi. Now, we are friends of the Reno Scum, and they should actually be coming on our show here pretty soon for an interview in the near future. But we just got to say, it's kind of interesting that the WWE didn't give these guys a look, or possibly Christina Von Eerie, who's down with the Scum, a look, but they kind of go this direction with Ruby Riot. Dale, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, she was on the good team here in this matchup, but I'm a little bugged by the gimmick here.
Little gimmick infringement going on, yeah.
Just because of the relationship that we have with all of the Reno Scum guys and gal. Not to leave Christina out of this. It just because we had heard all of the talk before, is like when they were making their efforts about WWE was cracking down on tattoos, like, and the look and like all that, and out comes Ruby Riot smothered in tattoos using a song that says "Oi, oi, oi." So to me, I'm gonna have a hard time wanting to see her succeed here.
In the immortal words of the Hurricane Greg Helms, WWE, what's up with that? I shall digress. So, moving on here to the ugly, the final ugly of this program. There was actually a chant very similar that Killian Dane received. Albert used to get this chant earlier on in his career. Shave your back. Yep. Shave your back. That guy is one hairy mofo. I think that I got too much hair going on here, man, in places where I shouldn't. Too much information. But this dude outdoes me. I don't know. Should we get him a pack of Gillettes and send it down there to Full Sail Dale? What do you think?
Yeah, that dude is one hairy mofo for sure. So I definitely could say it's like that. That dude looks like a grizzly bear.
Listen to the crowd there, Killian. I don't know if it's part of your gimmick, but yeah, that dude, like I said, I've said it before. I like him. You know, I just don't know about the name of the finisher. The Ulster Plantation? That's the name we looked up before the show. And I don't know what's up with his look because, like I said, he looks almost more like a member of the Wyatts. More than like a member of a post-apocalyptic, crazy, group like Sanity.
He He looks very much like War Machine, kind of Viking.
He does. Thank you. Yes, he could totally be almost like if they wanted to build him and Warbird Hansen as brothers. He would totally fit in with that. Yeah, so like I said, I think, the guy definitely, he definitely was a better fit than Sawyer Fulton with those guys, but he needs to alter his look a bit because the look is just not very fitting with the rest of Sanity. Enough about Killian Dane, though. So, Dale, on the no gimmick scale, from 1 to 5, what do you give NXT Takeover Orlando?
All right, so let's look at this. It's like there's a couple other things we got to take into account here that popped up at NXT to review. So we had 5 matches. I thought 3 were good, but we had 3 title matches and the reveal of 3 new NXT championship belts. Now, coming in, I was always high on the NXT Tag Team Championship belts. Then I liked the women's belt. I really haven't been a fan of that first NXT Championship. I always thought it was just too big. It just looked out of place. Gaudy. So we got 3 new belts tonight. I think we discussed this coming in, that the Tag Team Championships definitely continue to be the top-looking belt in NXT. Now, the weird
those
part...
Those are slick. I like those.
And the unfortunate part, I think, that comes from the women's title and the NXT men's title is the titles are exactly the same. It's a slight variation in the color scheme that is different.
Yeah, it's a Pele swap. The women's has the Edson white, right? And
yep. And the men is totally gold. So, but outside that, the belts look exactly the same, which takes you to the main roster where the women's title and the men's titles look exactly the same with a slight color variation. So here we go. Yeah. With following that same look. Having said, I like both looks, although the women's title, I just thought that it needed. I guess seeing it a little bit, I still felt like it looked too much like the guys' championship, and then obviously you see them reveal the guys' championship, and literally it's the exact same belt, and I was like, well, there you go. But anyway, new belts, new era for NXT. 3 solid matches I thought we got here. I liked Alistair Black and Cien Almas. Obviously, the tag team triple threat was fantastic. That's a match of the year candidate. Yes. And then Nakamura and Bobby Roode was better than the first one. Asuka and Ember Moon wasn't too bad. The only match I thought was a little disappointing was the opener, just because I thought it was such a cluster. Yeah. But I can't go below a 3 here. I'll go maybe 3.25. I'll say 3.25 for NXT.
Okay. I don't really need to elaborate too far because you basically share a lot of the same sentiments as I. There was no matches on that card that I thought were bad. I just thought there were a few that could have been a little bit better. I feel exactly the same way about the title belt designs. I thought that the main event was much improved. The tag team match was definitely a strong offering, and I'm really stoked about this guy, Alistair Black. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 3. This was a good offering from NXT. I definitely am a fan of their shows, although I have seen them do a little bit better in the past. So Dale and I, we can sit here and talk about this all night long, but unfortunately we can't. We got to go ahead and bring this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast to a close. So we are No Gimmicks, No Image, all wrestling all the time. This has been our recap, our good, the bad, and the ugly recap of NXT Takeover Orlando. Please subscribe to our official YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/the No Gimmicks Podcast. If you would like to be eligible for our giveaway through Pro Wrestling Tees, please make sure that you subscribe publicly. Check out Craig Perkins' articles on ProWrestling.com. We would like to hear from our viewers, so please leave us some feedback in our comment section. Also, please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at the No Gimmicks PC. Remember, sharing is caring. Feel free to share the links to our episodes with other professional wrestling fans on your social media accounts. That does it for this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast. For my tag team partner Dale Clifford in Fernley, Nevada, this is Todd Smith in Bristol, Connecticut signing off. Until next time around, y'all take care.